going on, guys? Welcome back to the our series where we're talking about the teams that have been eliminated from the playoffs. And in this particular case, we are going to be talking about the Washington Capitals. And the Washington Capitals, they've been eliminated now in the first round for what has it been now? What, 4 straight years now since their Cup win? 17-18, they win the Stanley Cup. They beat Vegas in the Cup final. Then 18-19, they lose to Carolina. And then 19-20, or in that bubble, I should say, they end up getting knocked out in the qualifying round, which really hurt. They get knocked out in the first round by the New York Islanders, of all teams. They get knocked out by Barry Trotz. Their former coach actually won them the Cup. And then in 2021, last year, they get knocked out in the first round by Boston. And then this past year, they get knocked out by the President's Trophy winning Florida Panthers. And some would say there's no shame in that, right? Florida's a really good team. They have a really high-powered offense. They're the President's Trophy winner. There's no shame in losing to Florida. I'd agree. But I think it does show a bit of a harsher light on this team. And I don't know. I mean, I look at this Washington Capitals team. And of course, every year we ask the question, are they good enough to take it back? Are they good enough to be a contender? Are they good enough to maintain the core they have now? That's a good question to have with the Capitals. And I don't know. I look at how they've handled some of their contracts. It definitely does feel like this is a team kind of running on borrowed time. And that's not to say that they don't have players that can get you over the top. Alex Ovechkin, despite being 36, and he'll be 37 by next season, Ovechkin is still as good as ever. He's still slapping howitzers from the blue line. He's still fantastic on the power play. He still put up good numbers this year. Ovechkin doesn't seem to age. Kuznetsov looks really good. I think I like what he's bringing to the team. Tom Wilson, of course, is still really strong. But at the same time, if you look at their age on their roster, they don't have many players currently on the NHL team under the age of 25. The only player worth of note that even had any points this past year was Connor McMichael, and he's 21. He literally just came into the NHL the last couple of years, so he's still got some growing to do. Other than that, a lot of their 19, 20-year-old players, they hardly registered any points. They've hardly registered any ice time. It's clear that the Capitals are trying to kind of like pry this window open. They're trying to keep it open as long as they can, which I don't blame them for. You still got guys like Kuznetsov and Ovechkin and Wilson. You look at you have players like that and you think, we can still do this. I mean, last year they made that huge trade with Detroit for Anthony Mantha, which Detroit got a really good deal at that. And you look at what they tried to do. They tried to use Mantha to boost scoring output. A big problem, though, for Washington has been goaltending. When they won the Cup back in 2018, a big reason why is they had a great goaltending tandem of Braden Holtby and Philip Grubauer. Holtby is now in Dallas, and he had a really good year in Dallas. He had a pretty rough last year with the Washington Capitals during the 2020 season, and then he went to Vancouver as a backup. Philip Grubauer was traded to the Avalanche, and he's now in Seattle. Their goaltending tandem now is less than notable. Their main starter this year, Ilya Samsonov, had a really, really rough year. And I don't know what you do with him going forward. He had an .896 save percentage, which was really rough in the regular season. Then they go into the playoffs, and he steals them a few games. And it's like, okay, he was the main reason that Washington even had a chance in this series. I mean, many people thought that Washington looked like, me included, thought Washington were going to try to steal it from Florida, and Samsonov was playing really well. But obviously, Florida's offense is just so potent. It's rough to look at it because you look at this Capitals team and you think they should be something. And their goaltenders are all under the age of 27. Their oldest one's 26. And Pascal, he's 26. They got promise there. And they have some goaltending tandems that could work. But, of course, the question is, what do you do with Samsonov? He was definitely the worst of the three. Is he your starter going forward because of how well he played in these playoffs? That's always a question, you know. Sometimes a goaltender can redeem themselves in the playoffs, and that earns them a starting job. Braden Holtby did that Grubauer did that. Thatcher Demko with the Vancouver Canucks had a breakout performance in the playoffs. But I just don't see this Capitals team as a contender anymore. I see them as a playoff team, but they're not a contender anymore. They had the same season they've had the last few years. They start out really hot, they look really strong, they look good, they kind of taper off into January, and then February and March they kind of get a bit of a skid, and then April they just kind of limp their way in, and then they get punched by the 1 seed. It just feels like they had that one great moment in 2018, and it's kind of been downhill ever since. I don't know. They feel like a 7th, 8th seed destined to finish team for a long time. And you look at teams like Florida, like Carolina, like the New York Rangers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and hell, I could even throw Toronto in there. These teams at least have young cores that they can nurture in bringing veterans along, but the main part of their core is young, and they're able to help, kind of let them grow as time goes on. Florida is really grown their team this year. They've added some veteran help to it, and it's paying off so far this year. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won back-to-back back-to-back cups that way. Capitals. I actually said that. That's kind of funny. Anyways, the Carolina Hurricanes are a really fun young team. The New York Rangers core is finally coming into their own. It really does feel like Washington's behind the 8 ball here, and I don't know where they go from here. My opinion, I don't think they're good enough. I don't know if you can just outright blow it up and start over. But this is a Capitals team that really feels like they're kind of just running the clock down. At most, if they got white hot, they could go on a run. But the problem is they keep limping their way in April. They don't really catch fire when they need to, and they don't seem to have that spark to just turn it on in a flash. Like, for example, St. Louis in 2019 when they won their cup, they got white hot going into the year. They just got the right momentum and they took off and then won them a cup. The Dallas Stars in 2020, they were a team with momentum. Nobody thought they were going anywhere because of how awful they were in the play-in round. They ended up going to the Cup final. They ended up playing Tampa. Montreal did it last year. They got white hot and they ended up going to the Cup final. I don't see that with Washington, and I don't see it where they're like, say, Tampa or Colorado or Montreal or St. Louis even, or Carolina, a team that could just probably flip the switch come playoff time and they're just, all of a sudden they're back on it. I just don't see them as a team capable of doing that. I don't know if their coaching is their problem. I don't know if it's the roster buildup, but I look at the Capitals and the way that they're constructed, they do not seem built for a cup run. To me, they're definitely the 8th or 9th team in the East. And I don't know what you do with that. Obviously, you can't just trade Ovechkin. The dude is still playing at a pretty high level despite his age. But, of course, there's a question of how long does he maintain that form. I mean, he could keep it up forever. I don't know. I mean, Ray Bourque did it till he was 44, and he was fantastic on the ice. He was fantastic. You have Jaromir Jagr, who's damn near in his 50s, and he's still kicking around. Obviously not in the NHL, but still. So it's perfectly possible Ovechkin could just keep it up for another 5 years. There's a chance he could be like Ray Bourque. He could just kick around for another 5 years, maybe get a cup somewhere. But I just don't see this Capitals team as built for a cup run. I don't know if they're going to make adjustments to it, but I think it is time to finally look at that farm system and start letting the youth flourish. To me, that's Washington's best chance at any future success for a cup run. It's in supplementing their veteran talent with young offensive talent. But also they need to really add some stuff on that back end. That back end, Johansson, I get it, he's a good player, but the dude's 31 and he's not getting younger. You need to supplement the back end as well. That's kind of what really killed them in the Florida series. They would get the leads, but they couldn't hold them. They either couldn't score enough to give them a good enough of a cushion, and they couldn't hold Florida down once Florida started their comeback. And I get it that not a lot of people can. That's just the Panthers' style, but I don't know. It feels like ever since that cup win, this team just has not been the same. And I don't think they're ever going to be. I think it is time to consider a rebuild in Washington. Will they? I don't know. I look at them and I see the same situation I saw with Nashville or with and I'll get to them, and eventually I'll get to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Are they good enough? Are they good enough? We're going to find out. Anyways, that's it for me, guys. Just let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you think the Capitals should do, if they're good enough to make a cup run, or maybe this is the end of the road for their core. Then again, I thought it was the end of the road for them. I thought they were going to flat out miss the playoffs a couple years ago, and they made it anyway. So maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe they'll still find a way to maybe they'll get some nice young offensive players, and they'll find that spark to go on a run again. It could happen. It's the NHL. Anyways, that's it for me, guys. Be looking out. I got the Toronto Maple Leafs next. I'm really looking forward to that one. Leafs fans, got some kind words for you. Look forward to that one. Anyways, that's it for me. Hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you guys later.